What's going on, everybody? Mark Farzy out of here for the Farzy Show, presented by Destination Retirement, destinationretirement.com. And I am along with you to talk about the Philadelphia Phillies, the Philadelphia Eagles, and all things Jason Kelce and Eddie Sosa. Holy pots and pans, what a night. What a last 2 days for Edmundo Sosa. Nice little pickup the Phillies were supposed to be bringing in just as a defensive guy. Not so much. How about perfect from the plate? In his last 2 starts, last 2 games. Rob Thompson, first time around, give Bryson Stott a little break. Put Sosa out there and see what happens. He only helps you win the game. He only goes, this is his night. By the way, the last 2 nights, he is now 5 for his last 5 in his last 2 games with 2 home runs and 3 runs scored, 2 doubles in both those games combined, and playing a phenomenal defensive shortstop as well. Not so bad. Not so bad at all. Rob Thompson wasn't supposed to start him last night. When I saw that Sosa was in the lineup again last night, I was like, okay, all right, Philly Rob. Let's pump the brakes for a second there. Let's get Bryson Stott back in the ball game. Who, by the way, I did the numbers recently, and I was looking at Bryson Stott and seeing how he was doing over the last month or so of the season, and he's only about a 300 hitter. So that's pretty good. That's kind of hard to take out of the lineup. Over the last month, 322. So that's hard to put on the bench. I understand giving him a day off. Maybe he gets a lefty, giving him a day off. Rob Thompson decided, all right, I'll give him the day off. Sosa stepped up to the plate, literally, and did some great things yesterday, or 2 days ago. Rob Thompson then says, you know what, let's give that a whirl. How do I take him out of the game again? How do I take Sosa out of the game after what he did for us the night before? So he leaves him in the lineup. I see the lineup come up across Twitter, and I go, Sosa again here, Rob. I think I might be pushing it a little bit here. And as I said yesterday on social media, that was a big win. Yesterday, Eddie Sosa, he's a big win for the gut feeling crowd and a huge L taken by the analytics crowd. Because there's no analytic in the world that said, hey, Sosa should play back-to-back games. He should start back-to-back games. Bryson Stott should sit back-to-back games. There's no analytic in the world that goes, yeah, that's the way you should do that. There's no number in the world. There's no formula you can put together. Philly Rob just went with the gut. And I loved it. After the press conference last night, or during his press conference last night, he said, yeah, I guess I got some more thinking to do. I guess I got to go back to the lab. Got to find a way to keep his bat in the lineup. Does he give Segura the night off? He had a home run. He had a walk-off. Like, what are you going to do with him? They give Bohm the night. He's still pretty hot. He's still hitting pretty well. 292 on the season overall. Another number I was looking at, 270 in August, 385 in the young month of September. Who gets the day off? Can Sosa catch? JT Realmuto looked like he had a little baby stub toe or something. By the way, that was an insane tag from Sosa. High throw from JT Realmuto. Sosa jumps to the sky. If you didn't see it, catches the ball from JT, reaches well below his butt between his legs, does a split in the air. It was Ozzie Smith. For all the young kids out there on the old YouTube channel here that don't know Ozzie Smith, go watch Ozzie Smith highlights when the show's over and just be dazzled, be amazed by the Wizard of Oz himself. But that's who that play reminded me of. That play was an Ozzie Smith type of play. It was acrobatic is what it was. Sosa goes up, reaches down between his legs, tags the runner out. Absolutely incredible. Has another home run last night. Segura got a home run for you. It was just an incredible, incredible night, really, for the Phillies. They made you a little nervous. Made you a little nervous in this game. But all in all, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing against the Marlins. And as we said yesterday, you can't take anybody too lightly. As of right now, in September, where every game counts, the Phillies can't look at an opponent and then all of a sudden play down to them because every other team seems to do that. The Mets have done that. The Braves have. Well, the Braves, not so much. But the Mets have certainly done that. If they can do it, the Dodgers have certainly done that. And the Phillies have done that. They're riding the ship right now. I've referenced this before, but a few years back, I remember talking to the great Jason Stark, Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame writer up there in Cooperstown. And Jason Stark talked about how the NL East was going to be won by the teams that could beat the Marlins. the Phillies are now finally beating the Marlins. And I think that also is a big box to check this season. Beat up on the Marlins, and you'll be just fine when it comes to going to the playoffs. Phillies right now, speaking of that playoff picture, this is bonkers. Check this out. The Phillies now and the Padres, because the Padres also won. Phillies and Padres solidified there in that second wild card spot, or at least a wild card spot. Both teams now 4 games up on the Brew Crew, who going into last night's Phillies game, mind you, the Brewers had already lost. So the Phillies knew what they had at stake if they won that baseball game. And sure enough, they did with their 4-3 win over the Marlins. Again, Sosa, just incredible. Matt Vierling had himself a hell of a game last night. And Bailey Falter, in all honesty, the guy has been incredible for the Phillies over his last 6 games. Last night wasn't an incredible start, but it was still very much worthy of being a big leaguer. It wasn't like a guy that was completely outmanned. Did he last as long as he had? Maybe no. He gets 2 more outs. Then all of a sudden it looks like another great start from Bailey Falter. But another solid start from Bailey Falter. Goes out there 5 1/3, 2 runs. Both of them earned 7 hits in 74 pitches. The man is efficient. I will absolutely give him that. The man is efficient. So that's his story right now with the Phillies, and I'm interested to see tonight, 6:40, another 6:40 start time. Kyle Gibson gets the start against Sandy Alcantara, who has struggled, by the way. I know a lot of people, we even talked about it yesterday. I forget who it was that brought it up in the chat, but Alcantara struggled a little bit. In 2 of his last 3 starts, he's allowed 6 earned runs. His ERA has ballooned to a whopping 2.36. Oh, my God. What a waste. But, yeah, an absolutely incredible year he's been having up until 2 of his last 3 starts. So hopefully the Phillies can take advantage of that and have some success against Alcantara tonight, who has been one of the best pitchers in baseball for the vast majority of the season. I had this thought last night when I was watching good old Eddie Sosa. And really, it came when he hit that home run and in the 4th inning of last night. No, that was Segura's home run. I'm sorry. In the 3rd inning of last night's ball game. I'm watching that, and then I see him make some miraculous plays in the field. And I'm thinking, like, this is what helps make magical teams. We've talked about all year. We've talked about Alec Boehm's home run and Matt Vierling's home runs that they hit against Hader in Milwaukee. We've talked about Bryson Stott's walk-off. We've talked about Garrett Stubbs' walk-off against the Marlins. Like, we've talked about the unexpected guy stepping up. Now Bailey Falter becoming a consistent starter for you in this rotation. We've talked about all of those guys. But having another guy like that, who's completely under the radar, like Edmundo Sosa, it makes you feel like this team just might have that magic where, hey, I know a lot of people are looking at this Phillies team saying if they get into the playoffs, they're going to be bounced out in the first round. You know what that may be? I still want playoff baseball. But if there's any reason to look at this baseball team and say, hold on a minute, I didn't expect the 2008 Phillies to go on and win the World Series. I thought they needed a hell of a lot more pitching. But, man, they were mashing against teams offensively. They certainly made up for that pitching. We've made that point many, many times on this show. But there's a little magic that comes along. Whether that's all of a sudden the pitcher becoming dominant like Cole Hamels was in the playoffs, whatever it might be. Whether it's Brett Myers working a 9-pitch at bat against CC Sabathia, and then Shane Victorino coming up and hitting a grand slam. Whatever it is, there's always a little bit of that magic along the way to let you know that something special is going to happen here. And last night, Eddie Sosa was telling us about that magic by the way he was playing. He is playing, I said this last night on Twitter, he's playing like a man possessed. Like he could do no wrong. When Connor Brogdon was in the game in the 9th inning and that ball was hit sharply to shortstop, I was blown away that he didn't come up with it. I thought for sure he was going to come up with that ball. He did not, unfortunately. That was the one thing that he didn't do that was just miraculous. There's a couple other great things, but just last night in particular, Sosa was just a guy that seemed like a man possessed out there. It was like if you would have told me that an angel was playing with him, I would have believed you. Absolutely. Rhys Hoskins also had a hell of a play at first base last night. Bailey Falter came up with a great play on that same play to get the out at first. Phillies are just playing baseball right now like they know these are games they're supposed to win. and they can't do what we're all terrified of them doing on a regular basis as the season winds down, which is play down to their opponent. So great job by the Phils. 6:40 start time. They wrap up this 3-game series as they go for the sweep against the Miami Marlins tonight in South Philadelphia. I was thinking about something last night, right before the Phillies game, because I had watched the Eagles media sessions and Nick Sirianni addressing the crowd, addressing the media, Jason Kelce, Darius Slay, of course. Can't miss Darius Slay. He's prime time, man. That's hilarious. I watched it all. And I think there's maybe in the history of the Eagles, only one player greater than Jason Kelce. In the Super Bowl era, there is no player greater than Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce is the greatest Eagle of the Super Bowl era. And I know you can talk about other production like Reggie White, because he's maybe the greatest defensive player ever in the history of football. There are obviously other, it's an argument. You could make the argument, of course, for others, Lawrence Taylor, just to name another one, right? But I was just thinking about, just as an Eagle, when it comes to representing the Eagles, when it comes to playing your whole career in one city, which it looks like Jason Kelce is going to do, Jason Kelce is the greatest Eagle of the Super Bowl era. And there's only one Eagle that may be better and probably is better than Jason Kelce. And that's Chuck Bednarik, because he won 2 championships for this city. And he was the last of the 60-minute man and all that stuff. If you haven't heard the legend, if you haven't gone back and watched that, it's definitely worth your time, Eagles fans. But I'll qualify it by saying this. The Super Bowl era, there's never been a greater Eagle than Jason Kelce. And I know it's just a press conference yesterday, but it just further solidifies how valuable this guy is to the franchise, how valuable this guy is to the city, because he is real. We ask everyone that comes across our threshold here in Philadelphia, just be real with us. Just be real. Work your ass off and be real. Don't lie to us. Jason Kelce is the realist. I think that goes without any argument whatsoever. But we've had other guys in this city play for this team. Brian Dawkins is another one that comes to mind, that have been great and have been great representatives of this city. But when it comes to embodying everything that this city is, Jason Kelce is that guy. Oh, and he won a Super Bowl. Like, that's another thing. And he's a Hall of Fame center. It's tough to find a guy greater than Jason Kelce. And I think, quite frankly, it's impossible. You might have one guy in the complete history of the franchise like Bednarik, like I said, but when it comes to the Super Bowl era, Jason Kelce is the greatest. And when it comes to things away from the football field, you don't have to have a kid that really wants to be a center in football. You don't have to have a kid that really wants to be a football player or an athlete in general to take lessons from Jason Kelce. You can just be a person and have nothing to do with football. Because when Jason Kelce takes a microphone, you shut up and listen, because the man's got something to say. And odds are it's something that could benefit anybody, even somebody who's never even watched a football game in their life. What he had to say yesterday about comfort applies to every facet of life. Always push to be great. And the funny thing was, I listened to the question. I think it was Martin Frank that asked the question. But the question was about just Nick Sirianni and being comfortable. Is Nick more comfortable a year into being a head coach in the National Football League? Going into his second season, is he more comfortable? And Jason Kelce put this brilliance out there about being comfortable. Questions about Nick Sirianni. And after Jason Kelce was like, anytime you're around another year, of course, you're going to be more comfortable. But then when he says the word comfortable, something clicked in his brain. Take a listen to Jason Kelce yesterday when he was addressing the media when asked about comfort.
Yeah, I don't like comfort. I think comfort is a terrible place to be if you're in this league. I think you want to talk about, I know everybody expects us to be, Super Bowl champions in Philadelphia right now. And, I think that can definitely happen, but it's not going to happen being comfortable. I can guarantee you that. It's going to happen respecting your opponent's going to happen, respecting the game and understanding that if you don't go out there and work every single day, if you don't go out there and have the mindset that there are things that we need to work on and improve on every single day, you don't get to that mindset by being comfortable. So I hope he's not comfortable. I hope he's very uncomfortable.
That's what my man's is saying. Keep pushing every single day. The question was about Nick Sirianni. Just say, hey, he's not really working out the kinks anymore as a head coach right as a year into it. Do you think he's more comfortable? Screw that. It's got nothing to do with football. It's got everything to do with life. And I'm listening to Jason Kelce yesterday. I'm like, damn, son. Like, it reminded me of his speech about how they were in the business of hope. They were asked about the fan base, missing their team and finally getting them back and all that. And Jason Kelce was like, we're in the business of hope here. And then he started breaking down crying. It's just like, okay, we're not talking about football anymore. We're talking about the impact of football in people's lives. Oh, it's just a game. Okay. Just a game. Just a game where 60,000 people pack into a stadium and all as one get together and cheer and they're happy and sad all at the same time. It's just a game though. It's wild, man. Then this was what really made it next level. Jason Kelce talking about the expectations for the season, because I'm one of them. I think this team's going to the playoffs. I think this team can win 11 games. I think they can win 12 games. Mike Kaye, our guest today from the Pro Football Network, he talks about how this team can win 11 games on the season and win the division, how they're the best team in the division, how they can win a playoff game. A lot of us have high expectations for this team. Jason Kelce, when he was asked about those expectations.
I think when the expectations are high, you tend to let little things go. You tend, after a win, the tape gets assessed differently. After a loss, the tape gets critical very, very much because people start feeling it. You have to improve everything when you lose. When you win, it's like, was that a bad play? And those 50-50, go a little bit by the wayside. And I think that when you're expected to do well organizationally, player-wise, team-wise, coaching-wise, all of those little things start to be like, we'll get that fixed. Whereas when the expectation is low, it's like, we got to fix everything right now. Otherwise, we're getting fired. Otherwise, people are going to be out on the streets. So I think we got enough older guys around this building. I think we got enough, whether it's executives or coaches or players, to understand that expectations are just that. They're nothing. And we got to go out there and play, and we got to go out there and, the moment you're comfortable in this league, somebody's coming for you. We got Mr. T and Rocky 3. He's going to be hunting us every single week. And we haven't won fucking nothing yet, so we're not even the champion. So we better work our asses off.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed one. I thought I had gotten rid of the I didn't, the whole Rocky reference, so Miss Scusi. But in case the kids are in the car. You're talking about being a fat cat. Talking about being all fat and happy, sitting up there, pleased with your success. Oh, look at the newspaper clippings. Look how great we are. Bulletin board material isn't always motivating. It can be quite the opposite of that. It can make you lazy. It can make you content. It can make you go, we're good here. I don't need to review that film. I don't need to look at that as a loss in that one-on-one battle in that game that we won. That's what Jason Kelce's saying there. That's what Jason Kelce's saying. We always want to keep pushing, whether it's being uncomfortable or that's realizing that even in our moments of victory, we had little defeats in there that sometimes we're not going to get away with. It's like a lot of times when we talk as fans even, and we talk about, even if the Phillies beat the Marlins today 10-1, or even if they beat the Marlins 15-0 over the last 2 games, we'd be like, it's the Marlins. It's like that type of thing. It's like, you're not going to get away with Bryce Harper striking out with a man in scoring position. We're not going to get away with a guy like Edmundo Sosa carrying us. That's not going to happen. It's taking it and putting it in perspective. Who was it against? How big a deal was it in that moment? Yes, right now, just stack wins. Just build a bigger gap between you and the Brewers. That's what's going on in baseball right now for the Phillies and, quite frankly, for the Padres as well. But that's just using a modern sports example for something Jason Kelce's talking about that they have to apply in the future for this football season, where if they do get on a run, if they do play as good as right now the paper says they can, as the talking heads like myself say that they can, then if they get off to a hot start, if they blow out the Lions, let's say, when they get into that film room later in the week, they're analyzing everything just like they would if that was a loss. Because in that film room, the W or L should not matter. The only thing that should matter is the individual performance of every position group as they break it down in their meeting rooms with their coach. And they can't go, well, you missed the block here, but he was still going to bounce out to the outside, so it's not that big. No, make the block. You missed this block. Oh, but he still ran for a 60-yard touchdown. Yeah, make the block. Your job on this play was to make the block. Now, there's a fine line there, I think, in talking to athletes. There's a fine line there between still celebrating the fact that you did win and then also not being too nitpicky when it comes to the players, because then you're overbearing. Then it feels like, then no one can make a mistake. Then you're playing on edge the entire time. There's a fine line between those two things, between just being a stickler and then also riding somebody might a little too hard who is winning. That can turn some people off and have the opposite effect you want it to. But bottom line is, you got to keep pushing. In any walk of life, if you want to be successful, you can't just be a fat cat and sit up there and be done with it and impressed with everything you've accomplished. Oh, look at this. Great. No, if you want more, which you should if you're still playing football like Jason Kelce is, then you got to keep pushing. You can never get too comfortable. You can never get comfortable. His quarterback, Jalen Hurts, was asked about it as well. Here's how Jalen Hurts talked about the comfort factor.
Yeah, man, I think you have to be uncomfortable. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's the game we play, But I haven't seen whatever he said, but it's just a lot of rat poison. In short, and it's all external factors that we don't want to pertain ourselves to or be involved with. You know what I mean? So it all comes back to pushing ourselves every day in practice, doing the little things we need to do to maximize the days and win the days. And to get better, you have to push yourself. So that brings some comfort. So when you build an environment of being uncomfortable, challenging, tough coaching, accountability from teammate to teammate, brother to brother, we get better.
That's Jalen Hurts yesterday. Pushing buttons, folks. That's Jason Kelce. That's Jalen Hurts yesterday. The rat poison. Again, it goes back to the idea of bulletin board material. It doesn't have to be, this guy over here on the Cowboys doesn't respect us. Okay, that's bulletin board material. But you know what else can be bulletin board material in a negative way? Look how great we are. Another publication picked us to win the NFC East. Well, okay, I'll mail it in for the next 17 games. Because no matter what, we just got to show up and win. That's it. Even if you are like me and you peaked in 8th grade athletically, your coach at some point told you we're not good enough to show up and win. That's come across. Even if you were like 10-0, we're not good enough to show up and win. Like, that's something. Imagine being a professional athlete and how many levels of your sport you have been through and how many coaches have said that to you. It's always true. You're not good enough to show up and win. Every single level that happens at. What they're talking about right there is not buying into all the hype that's surrounding them going into this season, making it seem like it's going to be a cakewalk for their 18-week schedule, 17-game schedule, and an easy march into the playoffs come January. That right there is what Jalen Hurts is saying is the rat poison. You buy into that, the season's over before it starts. So that was pretty wild. I'll let you guys hear from Darius Slay a little bit later on in the show, just because we're going to use him in the morning rush. I told you on, was it Monday? Tuesday, how happy he was to be a captain. It was last week, actually. How happy he was to be a captain. He got emotional about it. He tweeted it out. Well, yesterday was the first opportunity he got to actually talk to the media about it. And you could tell he was really touched by his teammates naming him a captain. Never been a captain before. I'll just say this. The phrase, "oh snap," gets used by Slay. himself. So we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. Without further ado, we're going to get to my friend Mike Kaye coming up just a second, talk all things Eagles. But right now, let me tell about my man Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut right there on Jewelers Row. Steven Singer takes care of all his customers with something called the perfect price. Now, what's the perfect price? Well, you go to any other jeweler, they have things marked up way too high. Just to back it off just a little bit, make you feel like you want to. I'll tell you what, you got a nice smile? Knock $500 off. Steven Singer, the $500 is already knocked off. You don't have to worry about negotiating. You don't have to worry about haggling. You don't have to worry about any of that pressure. All you got to do is worry about what beautiful, dazzling diamond you want to buy from his amazing team of jewelry experts, real jewelry experts at Steven Singer Jewelers. Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, ready for love diamond engagement ring standing by at the ready. So it's not just a clever name. And a real jewelry expert will help you with your purchase. Do what I do. Trust the man that's been in the love business for over 40 years in Philadelphia. That's Steven Singer Jewelers. One place, one price, the perfect price every day. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Always fast and free shipping at IHateStevenSinger.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Kaye, the Pro Football Network, joins us to break down all things Philadelphia Eagles. It's right now on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line, ladies and gentlemen, a good friend of the show, and quite frankly, the record holder for longest non-athlete interview on this program, Mike Kaye from Pro Football Network. Make sure you guys are following Mike Kaye. Mike, what's going on, man? Welcome back.
I feel like I'm in the SNL Five Timers Club. You know what I mean? Like after an announcement like that, like I have to be hosting a skit with like Martin Short and Steve
Martin, yeah, sure.
Martin and like Chevy Chase and Bill Murray and I don't think Dana Carvey hosted 5 times, but obviously he was there. A lot of guys that were there don't really host a ton. Like Mike Myers, I think has hosted twice. I think Eddie Murphy's hosted once or twice. Stuff like that. Anyway, that's your SNL moment in history.
Well, here's a fun fact. Well, it's funny because it's kind of what we went into last time we spoke. But for bonus points here, who was the doorman on the first 5 Timers Club sketch with Tom Hanks? Tom Hanks was the guest host. Do you remember who the doorman was?
It was probably somebody who'd only hosted like 3 times.
How about 0 times? The doorman was Conan O'Brien, then writer on SNL. Fun little factoid.
That podcast is treating you well, huh?
Well, as someone who watched a lot of Conan, I just kind of knew that because whenever someone from Saturday Night Live was on, they always would work that into the conversation. But yeah, man. Anyway, good times. Mike and I were talking before I hit the record button because I've mentioned it on the show as well for the Saturday Night Live junkies such as myself and Mike. Fly on a Wall podcast with Dana Carvey and David Spade is just incredible. It's just a lot of fun. Anyway, hey, football.
Yeah, the thing that I did after I realized that I wasn't funny, the thing that I turned to after, which I think has become a running bit for us on this show too, is my desire to be on SNL, but realizing that I'm not humorous in any sort of way, except to myself, I guess, and my wife.
Well, that's why we're friends. That's why we talk, because we feel like, we're totally right in that category. That would be a great bit, though. Just what NFL writers would be great and SNL cast members.
I'm ready for that.
For later. We'll save that one for later.
That list, but
I gotta tell you, I love on Pro Football Network. I love the Kaye's takes, especially when one of your takes is, not to spoil it for everybody, but you kind of are expecting a nice little season here from the Philadelphia Eagles. You think what we've been talking about on paper is going to translate to some success on the field this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the schedule, it's hard to find 6 to 7 losses. I mean, obviously that could happen. Obviously the wheels could fall off. Jason Kelce's older and kind of held together by sticky glue or permanent glue. Lane Johnson has had his injury histories. Brandon Graham's coming off a major injury. A.J. Brown has got a history of injuries as well. So it's not like this thing could like turn on its head very quickly. If they lose to Detroit, then you're suddenly like, oh. But week 1's normally kind of weird anyway. But what I'll say is this. I think this team from top to bottom is the 5th most talented team in the league. Do I think they have the best coaching staff compared to other teams? No. So I probably wouldn't say they're the 5th best team in the league, but I think Nick Sirianni has built a culture that is very, very good. I just think there's too many questions about Jonathan Gannon. As much as I think he is a brilliant guy, and as much as the league thinks he's a brilliant guy, to kind of be like, yeah, overall, this is the 5th best team in the league. I think they're probably 8th or 9th, right? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, to you alluded to Kaye's takes, I have them winning the division. I didn't put a number there, but I see them going 11-6. And then having a wild card round win as the 3 seed. I think they'll beat whoever's at 6. And I think from there, if you're in the dance of those final teams, then you've got a shot. But I do think this team will win a playoff game this year. That's really should be, it's not the end goal, because the end goal should be Super Bowl. But if they win a playoff game this year under Sirianni, that's notable progression, because I do think they overachieved last year. I do not think they were a playoff caliber team. I think they were helped out by the extended playoff, alignment and everything like that. But I do think this year they are, from top to bottom, I mean, this wide receiver group is phenomenal, and they only have 4 guys on the roster. I think the one big question mark they really have is at safety, and they just traded for CJ Gardner-Johnson. At running back, we're going to kind of see how they feel about the guys behind Miles Sanders, because Miles Sanders obviously has the history of injuries. I'm guessing from the tone of Nick Sirianni today, I'm guessing that he's going to be questionable heading into week 1, but will probably play. But we know that Kenny Gainwell is not going to be the workload backup. We know that that'll be Boston Scott. Kenny Gainwell is like the number 2 as far as usage, but he is not going to be the do everything kind of running back at this point in his career. So I think there's some interesting storylines weaved within the offense. I think defense, look, they're better at corner. They're much better at linebacker. I think the defensive line's got an incredible 2-deep rotation. And look, I think if Jake Elliott continues to make his kicks the way he did last year, this team's going to be really dangerous.
All the way. Look at that. All the way from safety to kicker. We covered it all right there, Michael. Appreciate that.
That's what you get when you bring Mike Kaye on the podcast.
See, you're funny. A writer referring to himself
as
a
third
person.
Right, by the way. I realize how this looks. We've got some cups and boxes, and we're just riding with the solo cup. You're
doing great. There's a frat party in the other room that you stepped away from to do the show, which I appreciate.
That's a sketch. That's trying to conduct a podcast while there's
there's something going on in the other room. I have to guess what it is. It's great improv. Yeah. So I'll ask you this question then. It sounds like then, I'm not including actually winning the Super Bowl. I'm just saying stop it in time at the time camp breaks leading into week 1. Is this the best roster Howie Roseman has put together on that proverbial paper?
I think on paper, yes. I think, a lot of things had to go right in 2017. They had to stay relatively healthy. And while they lost Carson Wentz and Jason Peters and Darren Sproles and those type of guys, they stayed healthy at other key positions. And I think that was really important. They had a phenomenal swing tackle for that season in Big B. I mean, the running game worked. Nick Foles caught lightning in a bottle those final 2 playoff games. There's a lot that goes into it, but I think I don't know if this is the most talented, but it's certainly the deepest on paper that I think Philly's seen since the Andy Reid NFC title games, for sure. That year that they lost to Arizona in the NFC title game, I think that's the most talented roster that Philly's seen probably in the last 20 years. But I do think this team, for Howie Roseman, he wasn't the GM at the time, I do think this roster is extremely deep. I think Gardner Minshew's a very valuable backup quarterback, and that he can win you 2 games if he has to start 3 of them. I think their running back group is kind of interesting. They've got a lot of characters. It's a cast of characters, but that's the way the running game is in the NFL now. There are very few, bulldozer, do everything backs. Look at what happened with Derrick Henry. I mean, it adds up. Right. He spent the entire summer playing in a sandbox trying to rehab. it wears on you. And look, I think wide receiver is a huge thing. A.J. Brown to me is what I call a quarterback maker. He's a guy that creates not only for the quarterback, but for his teammates to alleviate some issues for the quarterback. Now, a lot of us were there in training camp. I went to 5 visits on my training camp tour with the Eagles, but I was everywhere this summer. And I got to tell you, their chemistry, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown's terrific. And the thing is about having a true bona fide X wide receiver, there's maybe 5 or 6 of them in the league. When you have that guy who can take contact from press coverage, still get open on slants and go routes, that forces double teams. And when those double teams are there, you move Devontae Smith to the Z receiver where he's not going to have to face immediate press coverage. He's already a great route runner. That's going to get him open repeatedly. It's also going to help out your tight end and your slot receiver because over the middle, if there's a double team, they're going to be able to have one-on-one matchups. And we know that Dallas Goedert is a size-speed mismatch. We know that Quez Watkins is one of the faster wide receivers in the league. So you're going to open a ton of things up just by having A.J. Brown there. And I think that he is a godsend for Jalen Hurts, really, not just because they're close friends, but because of what he is able to do. You don't have to put the perfect throw on him. He will go up and he will grab it. He's going to win 70% of your 50-50 balls. He's going to, have that ability to command defensive attention. And I think that's huge for Devontae Smith, too, who I think is going to be able to work in a more versatile route tree with Jalen Hurts being able to get him in one-on-one coverage.
Understood. I want to flip it over more to the defensive side of the football here. And I'm trying, just after the preseason, not freaking out over everything or anything, but Jordan Davis, what's a realistic expectation for what he could be bringing to the table this season?
Well, I think you're looking at a 2-down run stopper right now. And I think that's how a lot of people feel, but they use it more in a negative connotation. The thing is, when you watch, so I'll go back to the draft, okay? So Nakobe Dean falls to day 2, and it's the topic of discussion throughout the draft. And literally every highlight you saw was Jordan Davis moving the entire pocket by himself so that Nakobe Dean could clean up against the run and get a stop after 2 yards. That's what Jordan Davis can do. Jordan Davis is a guy you're going to have to double and triple team, which means, you have to go one-on-one for Fletcher Cox. You have to go one-on-one for Javon Hargrave, whoever's next to him. And then, by the way, it's one-on-one for Josh Sweat, who's one of the fastest guys off the edge. Or it's one-on-one against Brandon Graham. Like, you're not going to be able to chip everybody. You're not going to be able to double team everyone. Like, this is going to open guys up. This is like he's basically taking up space, but in a good way. Like, if you have a double team on your nose tackle and he can truly take it on, I mean, Fletcher Cox on a one-on-one matchup is going to eat. Same with Javon Hargrave. Same with Josh Sweat. We haven't seen Brandon Graham in real live game action that much since his return, but he's going to get one-on-ones. Derek Barnett's going to get one-on-ones. And if they can win those battles, they're going to see a massive increase in sacks. And I think even more importantly, with the way they want to use Hassan Reddick, having that space and gap eater is going to free him up to do some fun things that you can kind of be creative with him in space.
I want to already look past this season. Let's go into the future, far into the future, as you enjoy the festivities from the frat party next door. Will Jalen Hurts be the QB number 1, not just for this season, but next season and possibly for the foreseeable future? Do you think he will earn that right with his level of play in the upcoming year?
I lean that way, yeah. I think if he can stay healthy, they can win a playoff game, and he looks, if he looks good in the postseason, whether they win or lose, it's a matter of how they win, right? It's a matter of how they lose. It's, if he's Tampa Bay Jalen Hurts again, then I could see there being a cloud of mystery and doubt. But I think that if they can win in the wild card round, or they can win in their first playoff game, if they get a first round bye, I think it's pretty much locked in. But there's this silly misconception out there that they don't value Jalen Hurts from the standpoint of financially. Well, they can't give him an extension. until he plays 3 seasons. So that's off the books. There's a thought process of, hey, they looked into other quarterbacks. Well, yeah. I mean, if you see a guy who's a top 5 player, you're going to look into him, whether that's the right choice or not. And I think the way that they've built around him, they clearly think that he can win to a certain extent. I do think he's improved his throwing motion just a tad. I think his accuracy is a little bit better. I think he's seeing the field much better, especially in the middle of the field. Last year, that was a massive problem. And I think, look, they want to be an 11 personnel offense. They don't want to have 2 tight ends out there constantly. That's why they kept a guy like Grant Calcaterra who couldn't block, and he can't play special teams. You're mostly going to see Jack Stahl in there if they go 12 personnel. And I think, look, I think that's why they brought 5 running backs to camp. I don't think the running game is going to be as much of a focus as it was last year. They had to do that out of necessity. They now have an X receiver, and they have 2 basically number 1 wide receivers now. And Quez Watkins, who would be a really good number 2 on several teams. So I think when you look at that, then you put in Dallas Goedert, I think their passing game can really be elevated this year. I think 3,700 passing yards is not out of the question for Jalen Hurts if he plays, 15 or 16 games. I really do think this team is worth buying into. I just don't see the Super Bowl run in them. I think the Packers are better. I think they're significant. There's at least a handful of AFC teams that I wouldn't pick the Eagles over, gun to my head. So, I think they're kind of that second tier of playoff contender. And I think that's a good thing considering where they were when they hired Nick Sirianni, the thought process when they hired Nick Sirianni, how negatively that hire was kind of responded to, and how people have felt about Jalen Hurts. I think they're in a really good spot to quiet some doubters here.
When you were at Eagles training camp and you mentioned the 5 training camps you went to, was there anyone kind of off the radar that jumped out to you at Eagles training camp?
I really liked what I saw from TJ Edwards. Like I think TJ Edwards is a guy who's routinely overlooked. He moves so well in space. He's a guy who can play the ball better than he did in college. I think he's thinking quicker, and that's made him very, very good. Another guy that, Zach Pascal, once he recovered from food poisoning, I think was really hard to guard in coverage. And then, I think Jack Stahl is a guy that we don't talk about because he mostly blocks, but he's a very good blocker. And I think he has solidified himself as the number 2 tight end. I mean, look, there were a lot of injuries. There was a lot of stuff going on there, but, Josiah Scott was another guy who was kind of interesting, made a couple of plays, played safety, played nickel corner. A lot of the guys who stood out in a bad way are not there anymore. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah, and that's a laundry list. But, excuse me, I think that when you look at this team, they have a lot of guys who can emerge, and they have a lot of young talent. And I do think, for a guy like Reed Blankenship or a guy like Josh Sills or even a guy like Josh Jobe, those guys made the team because of their upside. They were undrafted, but those guys were draft picks, if you know what I mean. I think internally they view those guys as guys who they would have selected had they had more than 5 picks.
Certainly. Of the 5 places you went to, what was the best meal you had?
Well, I was in Virginia and Baltimore for like 28 hours. So I don't think that's. I was in Nashville. So there was a place called Peg Leg Porker or something like that. I gotta look that up. Hold on.
Peg Leg Porker?
Yeah, I want to say that's what it was called. It was like some of the best barbecue I've ever had.
Ooh, yeah.
Peg Leg Porker. That's what it's called.
Okay.
It's on Glebe Street, Nashville. That was great. Really enjoyed that. That was good stuff.
What kind of barbecue you go with there?
I always go with ribs. I'm not like really like a pulled pork type of guy. I don't like,
Yeah,
I'm originally from Northern Jersey. I grew up in South Florida. Like, this is not like I'm not like a very Southern type of guy. So,
oh, this looks good. Oh, and the pig in the neon sign actually has a peg leg. I wonder if that's accurate.
I almost bought a shirt. My wife gets on me about this, but like, we'll go to like a bar. Like, here, I got to tell this story. So,
please, yeah,
we go to this bar in Orlando because we're looking at places there. Obviously now because I can cover the entire league, and we went to this place, and I was like, I'm buying 2 T-shirts because those T-shirts are awesome. That's how I remember the names of these places, and I'm kicking myself. No pun intended with the peg leg, that I didn't get one, but it's down the street from my brother's house. So I that was part of the reason why I volunteered for Nashville, because I wanted to see him. But
oh, that's nice.
There was a lot of great food down the street from that place. There was a great taco
Nashville.
Place.
Yeah, Nashville's a great place for food.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, the food just incredible everywhere we went. Just like a treasure trove of really good food. We went to this pizza place that was like I want to say they said it was like Chicago style, but it wasn't really, but it was. And it was like deep dish, but it wasn't. And I don't know, but it was great. So everywhere we went, like my brother hit home runs. Actually, this T-shirt's from Nashville. It's this play on Star Wars and guitar.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
That's Tatooine, I think. And that's the Millennium Falcon.
That is the Millennium Falcon. That's very nice. Check that out. Look at you, Michael.
So
look at you, Mike Kaye. Way to be.
Look at you setting me up for stuff that we didn't even talk about. That's how good our vibes are on this show. This is Sprite, I promise.
That's jungle juice. That's what that is. That's jungle juice. Mike Kaye, always great catching up with you, man. Do what Mike Kaye says. Buy a shirt at the restaurants you go to when you travel around the different Eagles games this year, folks. Just buy the shirt. Who cares what your wife says or what your husband says? Whatever. Mike, great catching up with you as always. You're one of the best doing it, my friend. Really appreciate you coming on yet again and breaking down the Eagles for us. All great stuff. Make sure you guys check out Mike Kaye's takes there with the Pro Football Network. Make sure you give him a follow as well if you're not following him. Are you even a football fan? I don't think you are. Mike, thanks so much, brother. Appreciate it.
Have a great one.
You as well. Mike Kaye joining us on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. I've been trying to get Mike back on the show for like months, and we just haven't been able to sync our schedules together. Man's been busy. Man's been all over the place, and he does such a great job, as you can hear right there, just breaking down the Eagles, breaking down the NFL in general. He does a wonderful job. But as you guys know, he and I are friends, and we both have the same infatuation for Saturday Night Live. And then we found out we have a name in the past that's very familiar to both of us. Now, if you see here, for the people on the podcast, I am showing Mike Kaye's Twitter avatar again, and his I don't know what you call it, the cover, whatever. But he's got his picture, obviously, and then he's got Batman, Adam West Batman, in the background. And when we got done the interview, we kept talking, and I said, no, it's crazy that you got the Adam West thing going on there. I told him, now, if you might know this already about me, I might have mentioned this before, but my grandfather served in World War II on the USS Cavalier in the Pacific as a member of the United States Coast Guard. His shipmate, one of his shipmates and good friends, was Cesar Romero, who played the original Joker on that Adam West Batman series and was also in Ocean's 11 with Frank Sinatra. And I told Mike that little factoid, and he goes, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Cesar Romero, that name means a lot to me, to him, because he loved the Adam West Batman, and people would call his grandfather Caesar because he looked like Cesar Romero." And he sent me a picture, and I'm like, "Holy pots and pans, that guy looks like Cesar Romero." To which I then sent back to him a picture of my grandfather with Cesar Romero at one of their ship reunions in like the late 80s. But it was just an amazing thing that a random Hollywood name has great significance to both him and I. It's insane. And then I went back and I also looked at some old pictures of Cesar Romero, and he had autographed a picture for my grandmother, and it said, "Hey, Mary, best of luck in the future, both to you and Al, my grandfather. Nothing but happiness and great memories being made." It was like a beautiful thing he wrote on this card, right? On this picture he signed. Him in his whole Coast Guard uniform, and It was funny because the good memories made and a happy life and all that stuff turned out to be 74 years of marriage to my grandfather and 12 kids, and me, one of 21 grandkids. Insane, absolutely insane. So yeah, there you go. And I want to address this even before we get into the chat check. It appears one of our regulars, Mullet petition for Alvarado, who's been in Okinawa this whole time. Looks like you're moving back stateside. A quick congratulations to you before we even get in the chat check there, Mullet. We'll get to you. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the chat, but I just want to get that in there as well. And let me tell you about Manscaped, ladies and gentlemen. Manscaped. Oh, you know what? Hold on. How dare I? I went through the trouble of pulling this picture of the peg leg porker, as mentioned by Mike Kaye. There you are, ladies and gentlemen. There's the picture. For the people on the podcast, it's a restaurant sign, a neon sign, with the outline of a big fat pig. And on the back hind left leg, is that how we term it, is a peg leg. There you go. I will eat that barbecue. I'm quite partial to Franklin's, as everyone is, in Austin, Texas. I've had it. It's amazing. And Gates Barbecue in Kansas City. And then in Philadelphia, Fetzel. Down there, what is that? Frankfurt Ave? Is that Fishtown? That's Fishtown. Down Fishtown. Anyway. Wait, Mullet's asking me if I live stateside too? I don't live. Yes, I live stateside, but I think you're actually moving to where I have some family, believe it or not. So that's fun. Let me tell you about Manscaped, everyone. Manscaped. Gentlemen, we all want to look our best everywhere, right? And I do mean everywhere. Nether regions? Yeah, that's right. Manscaped is here to help you out with their Platinum Package 4.0. It's their biggest ultimate hygiene bundle yet. It includes a Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, and it all comes with skin-safe technology that helps reduce the risk of nicks so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. Ultra premium. It also has this ultra premium body wash, 2-in-1 shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, crop preserver, anti-chafing ball deodorant, crop reviver ball spray toner as well, and anti-chafing boxers, as well as the Shed travel bag that'll help you hold all the goods you'll be using to manscape your goods with Manscaped. And how would you like 20% off your Manscaped order? Just use promo code Farzy and free shipping. Free shipping, 20% off when you use promo code Farzy at manscaped.com. Not too bad right there, huh? You can trust Manscaped with the whole shebang and join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. So go to manscaped.com, use promo code Farzy for 20% off and free shipping. How about Freestone Farm CBD? FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Nothing synthetic from farm to jar. They grow all their premium hemp flower in the Garden State with all organic inputs and IPM. Use promo code Farzy for 20% off at Freestone Farm CBD, FreestoneFarmCBD.com. You'll love their all-new strain menu that they have, including their tropical tasting Bayox, the Clark Center topping 24.1%, and Super CBD, which is half Hindu. Kush. And 21%. The genetics of these guys are off the charts. Go to Freestone Farm CBD, FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Use promo code Farzy for 20% off. And for those that are looking to take a more natural approach to everything that they put in their body, Freestone Farms is what you got to trust. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PhiladelphiaSportsNation.com, PHLSportsNation.com. BlueChew.com. A little problem in the old bedroom? Blue Chew wants to solve that problem. You know what ladies find attractive? Men that handle problems. Men that handle the business, especially this kind of business. Blue Chew and BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is an online prescription service, and there's no embarrassing trips to the doctors, no embarrassing trips to the pharmacy, as Blue Chew ships right to your home, right to your door in a discreet package, as it delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets help men combat all form of ED. Here is the Blue Chew process. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days, and it's all done online. Also, Blue Chew's licensed medical partners and providers will Find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. Don't like swallowing pills? No problems here. Blue Chew's tablets are chewable, so it's not just a clever name. Blue Chew's tablets are also made right here in the good old US of A. And they prepare and ship directly to your house, so it's cheaper than a pharmacy. Here's the special deal for our listeners and our viewers. BlueChew.com. Try Blue Chew free when you use promo code Farzy and pay just $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code Farzy, all one word, to receive your first month free at BlueChew.com. Let's jump into the chat check, see how you beautiful people are doing. Let's see here. Kevin leads it off for us. Good morning, Kevin. Dan, happy football Thursday. Bills and Rams in SoCal tonight. So there you go. Tyvita, good morning. Dan, good morning. Dan's got a new avatar, and I can't make out what the avatar is. Jerry Bando, what's up there, Jerry? Phillies are red hot. 2 in a row against the Marlins. Edmundo says, PJ on the old Farzy show chat there. Mullet Mally, Popeye the Sailor Man, and Edmundo Sosa is turning into quite the asset lately. Yes, he absolutely is. I just saw my man, Kevin Cooney, writer for the AP. Kevin Cooney put out there, and Edmundo Sosa and Bailey Falter on a huge payroll are the two guys at the bottom of the list, and they've won you. Well, Bailey Falter has kept you in a lot. They're not in a wild card spot without Bailey Falter, and they're not enjoying the comfortable lead they're enjoying right now without Eddie Sosa. Mihai Sanchez, what's going on? Good morning, Mark and everyone. Falter out here. Falter out of all is the best 6 starter in baseball. Yeah, he absolutely is. Now you can say watch Alcantara pitch a complete game shutout tonight, because if we beat him, because we beat him the last 2 times. I see what you're saying. He's struggled. He has some struggles. Sean Gillespie, Kelce is on point. I wish the Eagles organization had listened to him in the past on comfort, doing the same plays, going for it on 4th, Rager, etc. Yeah, I agree. Mia Sanchez, we simply love Jason Kelce. We owe Jason Kelce another Super Bowl ring. No questions asked. Mihai, I agree. April, good morning. Jim Grassbeater, good morning. Mullet, okay. Mark me present, please. He put my name, Mark with a C, in quotations, like, mark me present. Mark me present. I'm headed to North Carolina tomorrow and cashing in my chips here in Okinawa. Look forward to staying in touch back in the US of A and maybe catch a game with Farzy family. I would love that. A little Farzy trip to a game? Absolutely. Mullet is in Fort Bragg? Well, yeah, Fayetteville. He's teaching military kiddos. Mullet says he's happy to be 7 hours away from home as opposed to a day and a half. Mullet, that's awesome, man. That's great. I have family in Fayetteville. My Uncle Tootie passed away maybe 2 years ago, but his family's all down there. He was a badass. He went career after World War II. He met his wife in France, got married in France, moved to North Carolina, stayed in North Carolina from Ambler or from Willow Grove. And then they called him back for Korea and like, hey, you want to go to Korea? And he's like, yeah, let's go. It's like one of those dudes. He is badass. But yeah, his whole family's still down there, man. April's recommending beer or bars in Wilmington. There we go. I don't think that's our Wilmington. I think that's North Carolina. Thank you, PJ. This is great. Yeah, Mullet, congrats, man. Thank you for your service, and congrats on cashing in your chips out there in Okinawa and coming back to the States. Sean Gillespie, do the CBD Kush before you do Manscaped. That could be interesting. Mullet, yeah, congrats again, buddy. Finally, football season, says Jim. T-Bro, how I know my phone is listening, just had a Blue Chew ad pop up on here while I was rewatching SkyDrive. While the ad was hilarious, it's scary. T-Bro, there you go. By the way, thanks to everyone that's already watched SkyDrive. That was a lot of fun to shoot. I'll be putting it out again today. just with a couple of bullet points from the interview. See if a couple more people find it interesting. Mullet. Oh, I remember wiretapping 80s movies when they used the gum. 2022 Blue Chew. Say that coming. What? Huh. Cool to hear about your Uncle Mark. I hope to catch up with everyone. Any plans to do an SC Sixers run? What am I missing there? I'm sorry, Mullet. April's in North Carolina by Cherry Point. That's not, there we go. Buying beer. Buying beers. We're buying beers now, everybody. There we go. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Mullet, once again, congratulations. That's awesome. Morning Rush, brought to you by Sky Motor Cars, skymotorcars.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Darius Slay on being named a team captain.
Oh man, that was everywhere, man. Like I was telling the group, man, that means a lot to me. That's probably one of the biggest achievements of my career. Never been a captain before. So I'm like, yeah, man. It had me a little teary out there for a minute. I ain't gonna lie. I was in the huddle like, oh, snap. But, like, it's a blessing, man, to be honored that. I appreciate that, man, for my teammates. Because I honestly go out there, go hard every day, compete every day, try to be the best version of me every day. And let them guys know that they see that, man, that means a lot to me. So, I wear it with a lot of respect. So, I go out there and go get it.
Oh, snap. I'm glad that all snap's still getting used. I'm a big fan of all snap. Phillies back at it tonight against the Marlins. They'll try to complete the sweep against the Marlins tonight. Again, here are the wild card standings right now. Phillies and Padres both 4 games up on the Brew Crew. San Francisco Giants all the way down there at 9.5 games out. So it is a 3-team race. And to break it down like that, Sandy Alcantara gets the start. He allowed 6 runs against the Braves. He allowed 6 runs against the Dodgers and had a good start in between those two. Let's cross our fingers that Alcantara does not have it tonight, and the Phillies absolutely dominate in tonight's ball game. This is a nice, warm, cozy feeling where we don't have to worry about Edmundo Sosa stepping up to the plate and knocking dingers or anything like that or playing great in the field. Let's have a laugher tonight, folks. Let's have a laugher tonight. Kyle Gibson gets the start for the Phillies. Kyle Gibson has not been on his best behavior as of late for the Philadelphia Phillies. Struggling comes to mind. When it comes to what we have seen from Kyle Gibson, he is 9-6 on the season with a 4.48 ERA, and his last start against the Giants, he lasted less than 2 innings, just an inning and 2/3, 7 earned runs in that span. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everyone. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll be back with you tomorrow on a Football Friday. Hey, don't forget to set your fantasy rosters tonight if you got any Bills on your team or you got any Rams on your team. Have a great day, everybody. Take it easy.